We interrupt your daily coronavirus news report to bring you a breaking update on our tater plot. Well folks, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Let's start with the bad news first. If this is your first time on our channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and that bell button so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you're a frequent viewer of the channel, it's always good to have you back. I want you to look real close. You see that right there? That is a rotten seed potato, specifically a rotten Kennebec seed potato. Now about a month ago on this channel, we planted some odd 500 row feet of Irish potatoes, several different varieties, Kennebec, Yukon, red, some blues, some fingerlings, all that good stuff. Now during that time, a month or so ago, we were getting a lot of rain. I mean a lot of rain, several inches a week, 3 to 5 inches a week. And that was the ideal time to get our potatoes in the ground, so we were kind of in a hurry. We had a little bit of a break where it dried out. We thought, man, let's go ahead and get them in the ground, and we did. But what happened soon after that is we got about 3 to 5 inches more rain, which isn't a good thing for seed potatoes. Now in some years, even last year, I've seen where it can take 3 to 4 weeks sometimes for some of these potato varieties to sprout out of the ground and start showing some leaves. So I was trying to be patient. I was trying to be hopeful, had my fingers crossed, and I thought any day these things are going to start popping out of the ground and I'll feel a whole lot better about this situation. But that's not what happened. Tiger, where's our potatoes at? I don't see hardly any potatoes sprouted out here. We planted this whole big plot here, rows 3 foot apart, and hardly any potatoes have sprouted. We've got one little rogue tater plant right there. We've got, looks like one little tater plant right there, maybe 2 little measly tater plants. And then down here on the end, we've got about 10 to 20 row feet of taters that actually sprouted. So from all that we planted, this is what we're working with as far as tater plants. So needless to say, that's a little underwhelming. We had planted more taters this year than we had ever grown, more varieties than we had ever grown, and we were really excited about it. But all that rain that came in here just made those seed potatoes rot in the ground. That one little spot where they did come up is the highest spot in this plot here. The rest of them I've scratched around are all rotted. So what are we going to do? Well, I do have a few more seed potatoes in the shop there that I could plant, but I think it's just too late, especially with this early onset of heat we've had. I think it's just too late to get more in the ground and replant. So what we're going to have to do is just make the best of what we got. We're going to baby these few little row feet of taters. We're going to take real good care of them, and we're going to grow the best 10 to 20 feet of taters that we've ever grown in our life. So what little bit of tater plant we got are actually looking pretty good. I came in here yesterday, I put some of that good compost between the rows, took my wheel hoe and kind of mixed it in the soil there. Took my high arch and healed them up one time, then took my rake and healed them again. And we're just going to take the best care of these guys that we can to make sure we get some potatoes to eat around here. So that's the bad news, and if you've been gardening long enough, you're going to have bad news pretty frequently. A lot of times you'll have multiple rounds of bad news per year. You're not going to just kill it on every single crop every single year. You're going to have some failures just like we did with our seed potatoes. But the good news is we always have a plan B. You got to always have a backup plan. We can't just sit around here and sulk over this empty tater plot and just come out here and cry about it all the time. We got to do something different. We got to have a backup plan. We got to put something else there, and we got to plan to be successful with that backup plan. When we do greenhouse videos, we always have several people commenting, man, what are you going to do with all those plants? There's no possible way you can plant all those plants. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we give them away. But it's always good to have extra plants ready to go in the ground when you have to go to a backup plan. So for those of you who wonder why we grow so many plants, it's just for times like these. You see, if I've got plants ready in the greenhouse, I've got that plan B prepared and ready to grow, a crop failure isn't that big of a deal because, man, we can come right behind it, we can get something else in the ground, and we can feel better about our garden. So this here is our smaller tater plot. There's the big one over there. This little one right here is where we had some fingerlings planted, some blues, lots of good varieties we were looking forward to here. And just like the other plot, we've got just a few taters here on the high part. I think these are the Austrian crescents. They're looking good. We're going to baby those. But we had this whole other plot that didn't sprout. So what do? We came in here and put some plants in the ground. We got a double row here of some marigold sparky mix, and these guys are looking pretty. Some of them are starting to bloom already. You can see a little bloom there that's about to open up. We skip over these taters. We've got some emerald crown broccoli we got in the ground. We'll see how that does with the heat, but we should get at least some broccoli harvest off those. Another row of broccoli, and we've got some of these Top Bunch 2.0 collards right here. Never hurts to have too many collards in times like these. Go over here, we got some rutabagas, and I'm doing a little testing here. I've been growing a lot of rutabagas this year and late in last year, and I want to do some experimentation with just how close can I grow these guys. So I usually plant them a foot apart. I got these planted about 6 to 8 inches apart. We may have to thin every other one as they get bigger, but we'll just see. And then here we've got 2 varieties of lettuce. These are the 2 varieties that I have found to be the most heat tolerant for me down here. This is a Tehama lettuce right here, which makes a nice big head, really good lettuce, holds well in the field. And then we've got our Cherokee lettuce right here, this red lettuce, and this stuff is really heat tolerant. So we'll keep some water on these. We'll be overhead watering with a sprinkler because we didn't put drip on this plot when we had our potatoes here. So we'll be giving them a little splash every now and then just to cool the leaves off. But this is our backup plan here. Stack as many plants as we can in this little 20 by 30 plot, and we'll hope plan B works better than plan A. And then plan B for this bigger plot where we had our tater failure. Of course, we're going to leave those at the end there like we said. We're going to take good care of those. But I didn't have any winter squash originally in my garden plan for spring this year, but now I do. So I'm going to be planting these 2 guys right here. This Hoss butternut squash and some acorn squash. And later on this afternoon, I'm going to go to the greenhouse. I'm going to plant me a flat of each, and shouldn't take long, just a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks for those guys to be ready to go in the ground. We'll compost this plot. We'll put some drip tape down. We'll put some transplants in there, and we'll have some winter squash. And right here in this plot is one more good example of why it's important to have a backup plan. We had 3 rows of lacinato kale here, and this stuff usually grows way on in to the spring, sometimes late spring, sometimes even early summer. But with these hot temperatures we've been having, the stuff just started bolting. You can even see some of these collards bolting, and that's just not supposed to happen this early in the year. So we had to pull up our kale. We had to ditch the kale because it was all bolting. Thankfully, we had some beet transplants ready to go, and boy, we stacked them in here, about 4 to 6 inches apart. 3 double rows of beets, and I was sure glad that a few weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I started these beet transplants. I wasn't sure if I was going to use them, but it sure was nice to have them when I needed them. So the moral of the story here is always have a backup plan. Always have a plan B, always even have a plan C. When it comes to gardening, you're going to have failures. Happens to everybody. Even people that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years, still going to have failures. But if we got a backup plan, if we've got something ready to plant in place of what fails, we're still going to be successful with our garden. We're still going to be able to grow food to feed ourselves and our families. So it's always important to have extra seeds on hand, extra transplants even growing out, whether you grow them inside or grow them in a greenhouse. Even if you don't use those transplants, you can usually find somebody to give them to, but it's good to have them just in case you need them. Those extra plants or extra seeds are a nice insurance policy for when things don't go as planned. So keep your head up out there. Don't get down in the dumps if one thing doesn't work. Just be ready to try something else. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up and check out these other 2 videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. See you next time.